Frankfurt, Germany on June 12, 1929. My father's name is Otto, or as my sister Margaret and I like to call him Pim. My mother's name is Edith. I went to school from age 5 to 13. My entire family is Jewish. Since my family is Jewish, we were going through very tough times. Hitler wanted all of the Jews dead, and so that's what he got. At that time, Hitler was our ruler, and so he got anything he wanted, even if it meant thousands of people dead. When I was 13, I hid from the Nazis in the upper 2 floors of my father's office building for 2 years. The plan was to hide from the Nazis till the war was over. Sadly, I was not able to accomplish that. I was captured at age 15 and died of typhus at Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Even though my family and I were going through very tough times, we always tried to stay very hopeful and grateful that we were still living at that time. People always said I was a very outgoing person. Some people even called me Quack Quack because of how much I talked. Of the other 7 people who hid with us, only one of us survived, my father. When he came back to the office building where we hid, he found my diary locked in a desk drawer and published it. That's when my story became a big hit. I hope people remember me for my wonderful writing and the fact that I was able to hide from Hitler and the Nazis for so long. Who am I? There were 10 rooms in my house. I love my house. I wish I was still living. My parents got divorced when I was very young. I blame myself for my parents' divorce, and I started to teach younger kids so I could give them what I never had. When I was 19, I started to date Prince Charles. My sister Charles and I went to a lot of parties. I love to dance, and I love candy, and I love animals. The people called me, my nickname was Dad. The press gave me that name. I love kids. I hugged a person with AIDS. I was very scared. People always said I was a very outgoing person. I love kids and people in need. Some people thought I was strange because I hugged kids. Royalty do not hug kids. I don't get why. Kids are fun. I want people to remember me by how I cared for people. I was very friendly. I sold all my dresses for charity, and I have a kind heart. I died Sunday morning, August 31st, 1997. Everyone was sad when I died. People put millions of flowers in front of the palace. People came from all over the country to see my funeral. Who am I?
I was the oldest child in my family. I had 2 siblings, Kieran and Dan. When I was little, I would always be with my mom. I'm similar to my mom, calm, serious, and determined. I never had trouble making friends. The hard part was keeping them. Dan was the total opposite. I didn't go to school when I was little. My mom stayed at home and cared for me. My mom also taught Sunday school. My dad worked at the Ohio State government. Because of that, we moved 16 times before I was 13. I had many challenges to go through, like making money. That was the big problem. I worked at a donut company, and I made money and sometimes lost money. When I was finally finished, I got enough money to go to college. I studied aeronautic engineering. 16 years later, I made a rocket ship called the Apollo 11. I'm really well known as the first person to step on the moon. Me and my crew collected moon rocks and brought them back to Earth. And you know who planted the United States flag on the moon? Me. When I came flying back to Earth, we thought we were going to crash land on the land. But then I remembered that when we were building the ship with the engineers, I put a parachute on the rocket ship, and then I pulled the parachute lever, and boom! The parachute flung out, and we made it safely in the water. I had a happy life and became famous. I died August 25th, 2012 at the age of 82. I was awesome. Who am I?
Hello, I was born in Brewer, Maine on September 8, 1828. I was one of 5 brothers. My dad, Joshua, was married to Sarah Brewster. They required us to be cheerful, honest, and honorable. We lived on our family farm. As I grew up, I loved poetry. I hated killing animals. I knew how to play piano and violin. I knew 10 languages, including the Aroostook Indians who lived in Birchbark wigwams on our family farm. I taught at Bowdoin College. I was married to Fanny Adams. Then in 1862, me and two of my brothers, Tom and John, joined the Union Army. I was 34 years old. My first battle was considered the bloodiest day in American history. It was the Battle of Fredericksburg. We chased the Confederate Army across the Potomac River. We met in Fredericksburg. We had to withdraw from the battle. Next was the Battle of Little Round Top. My 20th Maine Regiment had to hold ground at all hazards, Colonel Vincent told me. Good thing we won. I was shot, but it bounced off my sword, so I lived. Next was Big Round Top. We used stealth to sneak around at night to capture 25 Confederate men and 1 general. A few other battles were the Battle of Petersburg, where I was shot and lived, White Oak Road, where I tricked the Confederate Army into thinking I was their general and captured some of them, Gravelly Run, Quaker Road, and the Battle of Five Forks. I also attended the surrender of the Confederate Army. I care deeply for my service and as a teacher, and I hope people can remember me for a leader and a teacher. Also that my teachings will carry on. Who am I?
So I'll tell you, my real full name is Margaret Ann Johnson. Most people think that I was born in North Carolina, but I was really born April 4th, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri. There are not any cool things about my birthplace. My nickname is Maya because it is short for Margaret. I was with a few different men. With one of them I had a bouncing baby boy. I gave birth at the age of 16, so many people discouraged me because of the fact that I was a teen mom. But I had friends in a group called Teen Talking Circles. I came from a family full of poverty, but because of that poverty, I became an amazing woman. When I was 8 years old, I was cruelly beaten, but I overcame it. I was beaten by my mother's boyfriend. My uncles were enriched by this, and so they killed the man that beat me. But once again, I obviously overcame this and many more hard things in my life. I have accomplished many things in my lifetime. I have published 7 autobiographies and 3 essays. I also write lots of poetry, but one of my most renowned books is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. My parents divorced when I was just 3 years old, and that was very hard for me. When my parents divorced, I had to go to my grandma's house with my brother. That is where the story I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings came from, because it's based on a true story about me. I care about my son and family dearly because they are the only family I have and will always be the only family I have. And even though people discourage my race and the fact that I was a teen mom, I will always love my family. I want people to remember my work, whether it's my art or my acting or even my writing. I want them to remember me for generations upon generations. I died May 28, 2014 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but I will always live on within my family and friends, and most of all my fans. Who am I?
My Polish name is Mania Skłodowska. My nickname is Mada. I was born November 7th, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland. My mother and father were both teachers. We lived in an apartment in my mother's school before she came down with tuberculosis. When my father's salary was cut, we lived in another apartment at my father's school. My family members are my mother, Mrs. Skłodowska, my father, Mr. Skłodowski, my brother Joseph, my sister Zozia, Hella, and Branya. I have very fond memories of playing with my siblings. Unfortunately, my mother died of tuberculosis when I was 8 years old. My sister Zozia was like a mother to me, and she died 11 months later. I was very sad when my mother and sister died. It was hard for me because I was only baby. One challenge that I faced was that I could not afford college, so my sister Branya and I put our savings together so that we could both go to college. In college, I met Pierre Curie. We worked together for many years. We eventually fell in love and married on July 26, 1895. We had 2 children, Irene and Eve. My laboratory research was on an element called uranium, which gave off unexplained rays. I also discovered the elements polonium and radium. I won 7 notable awards, all within 19 years. I was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize and the first person to win a Nobel Prize in 2 different sciences. My work with radium is still used today to treat cancer patients. I'd like people to remember me as Mania Skłodowska, the brave scientist.